Hey everyone, welcome into Comic Book Women. Well, kind of tonight, right? Mostly comic book women. Unfortunately, Lucy was not able to be on the show tonight, but filling in for her, we have the one and only Anthony, the owner of Bird City Comics.
What's up?
Anthony, thank you for joining. We know it's a little intimidating coming on with all these women, but we think that you're going to hold your own.
All right, I'll do my best.
You'll be great. So tonight, guys, we are so excited. We have the creator and author of the Boston Metaphysical Society, Madeleine Holly-Rosing, here with us. We're going to go to our intro, and when we come back, she will be here. Sit tight. We are back. Madeleine, welcome in, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I can't even tell you. I'm so excited to have you on. This is a really cool project, and I am such a steampunk fan that this is just right up my alley. Can you let people who aren't familiar with your series know a little bit about it?
Well, the basic premise is about an ex-Pinkerton detective, a spirit photographer, and a genius scientist who battle supernatural forces in late 1800s Boston.
It's like the trifecta. I mean, come on, that's awesome, right? Does it get any better than that? Yeah, that's fantastic. I like the whole theme behind it. Jen, you were into detective books, right?
Yeah, we had a whole... Right, we talked about the detective and Sherlock Holmes and mysteries.
We were saying there weren't enough mystery type books out there, enough options. So here's a great one. Too bad we didn't know about it though.
So there was you guys did an interview that I'm referencing that the whole mystery genre is like almost non-existent anymore. It's either drama or they get a little dark, so they go into the horror rating. So this is a detective series. It'll qualify as that genre, which is pretty cool because there really isn't, when you scroll through Netflix, there's no mystery category anymore. So this is neat.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's all cross genre now. You'll have mine is cross genre as well, because we also have supernatural and the paranormal, and we have a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
it's sci-fi.
Cool. Because if you think about it too, and
Yes.
you go into the mainstream like Marvel and DC stuff, they get away from the detective version of Batman because they want a packet full of action. And then now they're bringing it back where they want to get more into digging around and coming up with clues. So I think this is a sweet spot to be in.
I 100% agree. I think that's a very interesting aspect. Look at it that way too.
I know some stuff about some stuff.
You do. I mean, who would have thought an owner of a comic book store would know some stuff? I'm just messing with you, Aunt. All right, so before we get into the meat of the show tonight, which is going to be focused on these amazing books, I want to talk briefly here. Madeleine, you created a Kickstarter for the independent creator book, almost like a guide for people who can't afford, to hire a professional and to point them in the right direction for their campaigns.
Yes, that's correct. The version you have up there, that's actually our first edition. We do have a second edition out that has a green cover, and that is updated every year after I do a Kickstarter. So if people are interested in it, they should get the one with the green cover. But I originally did this because I guess I'd done my third or fourth Kickstarter. I'm on my ninth right now, but this I've done about 4. When I realized there was a lot of really awesome projects out there that were doing the crash and burn on Kickstarter. And just by looking at their page and how they were on social media, I could just tell that they weren't ready to do this. They weren't prepared to crowdfund. So essentially, I created a field guide for crowdfunding. If you knew nothing, if you're just like walking into it, like, how do I build a fan base? Pre-launch strategy, campaign strategy, fulfillment, postage, all that fun stuff. That's actually not very fun at all. And but I also organized it so if you were a little bit ahead of the game, like say you already had a decent fan base and which to build on, you could start in, a different, there you go. You can start in a different chapter and, go from there. And I always recommend to people who get the book to read the whole thing through at once and then go back, read it again, and make notes that are particular for your project.
So this isn't just for comic books. It could apply to any type of project. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, the references are mostly to comics, but though I do have some, additional material that's non-comic related, towards the back that you can go and look up. But it doesn't really matter. Your strategies remain the same for any kind of creative project, whether it be a film or a novel, or something else creative. You're still going to be wanting to follow these steps in order to be successful. And I have to admit, it's a lot of work. It is a second full-time job. So you do have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, for sure. Jen, do you have anything you want to ask about this one?
No, I think I'm good.
Anthony, you?
I just want to stress the importance of this, because when we broke in our comic book with the online platform and stuff, we were doing a lot of things that were kind of new. Comics go way back, so we're talking brick and mortars and that whole traditional strategy. And a certain couple things hit in the last 2 years. We all know what we're talking about, and it kind of set us up to learn in a different direction. So if you have a person that is successful and they're willing to put pen to paper and give you all the tricks of the trade, this is a necessity. So please pick this up, because this is obviously a proven.
That's exactly what she did. It's exactly what she did.
And she's giving it to you guys. You just got to go to Amazon. So definitely don't pass up something like this if you're looking at Kickstarting.
I 100% agree. And we have a couple people out there that we know are working on Kickstarter projects. So this, again, read this first. And I'm sure you could probably reach out to Madeleine on Twitter and Instagram if you have any further questions. And it's very cool that you're willing to help people that are just starting. It's very neat. So,
well, it's also a lot of fun too.
Oh, and it's good karma. You're spreading good energy out there. You're helping other people. So that's great. All right. So let's move on to what we are here to talk about. The Boston Metaphysical Society originally was a 6-part miniseries, right? The book to the left.
That's correct. 6-issue miniseries. That is where it all began.
When did this one come out? The original?
Well, it came out gradually over a period of 4 to 5 years. Emily Hugh was my artist on that. And Gloria Colley and Fariza Kamapucha were the colorists. Troy Pateri was the letterer, who's been with me now forever. But yeah, it took about 4 to 5 years for Emily to finish it.
Wow.
And then we went to trade. And then about 1.5 years ago, Source Point Press picked us up. And through 2019, it did the whole Diamond preview round in comic book stores. And then the trade came out early last year through Diamond and other places. So,
very cool.
Yeah, we were pretty psyched about that.
Real quick shout out, friend of the podcast, Frank Gogol.
Frank, yes.
Apparently he's a fan.
Hey, Frank.
Hey, Madeleine knows Frank. What do you know, right?
Dude,
Small world.
He's a Source Point guy.
Yeah.
Him and Anthony actually do a podcast together. It's called Comic Book Food Chain. That comes on later tonight. So they're friends too. That's so funny. Everybody knows everybody in this community, which is kind of cool.
It is a small community.
All right. So the mini-series, are we still able to get a hold of that if we want to start at the very beginning?
Absolutely. You can get it a couple of places. You can get it directly from Source Point Press, or you can order it through your local comic book store, which I always encourage. And of course, you can pick it up in my current Kickstarter. So yes, you have a lot of avenues in which to get it.
Very nice. And now the book's off to the side. So you have the Scourge of the Mechanical Man, the Spirit of the Rebellion, and Ghosts and Demons. These are all, where do these fall into place?
These are sequels to the original 6-issue miniseries. The first one being The Scourge of the Mechanical Man, which features Tesla and Granville Woods. The second is Spirit of Rebellion, which features Caitlin and Samuel Hunter. And then Ghosts and Demons pretty much just features Caitlin O'Sullivan, who's our medium and spirit photographer. And they are standalone, but I would recommend that as your reading order, is starting with the trade paperback and then Scourge, Spirit, then Ghosts and Demons.
Oh, good. So I got this slide right. I was like worried about the
Yeah,
slide.
no,
I
it's
got the
perfect.
order right. So
It's absolutely perfect.
oh man, even the covers just make you want to pick these up. So before we move on though, where did this idea even come from? What made you think, okay, I'm gonna make a book about a detective? Like, where was the inspiration behind this?
Well, I do want to interject before I forget. We brought on a new artist, Gwen Tavares, for the sequels. So yeah, we have had a new artist on board for the last three, and then the current one we're doing now, the Book of Demons. But to answer your question, this was originally a TV pilot that I wrote while I was in the MFA program in screenwriting at UCLA. And it was shopped around and did reasonably well in competitions. But this was a long time ago, and steampunk really hadn't hit the mainstream. And it just, it was expensive to make back then, more expensive than probably now. So it was suggested to me that I turn it into a graphic novel to then bring it back as marketing material back to TV and film. Well, in the process of learning how to write comics and getting in the comics community, I discovered that I really love writing comics, and I really enjoy being part of the indie comics community. So here I am. I just kept going.
Oh, that's awesome. Jen, you were saying something about that, about how you just create, how did you put it?
Like the world building that happened with this.
Yeah, the world building was interesting because while we were in production for the original 6 issues, I started writing short stories and novellas essentially to establish canon and to enlarge the world. And by doing that, the world just started getting bigger and more interesting and bringing in new characters. And it Boston Metaphysical has become this huge world that is not only in comic book form, but in prose as well. There's a prequel novel, the prequel anthology of those short stories and novellas. And I have a trilogy of what's I refer to as the House Wars. Those are novels that I'm working on now, along with an audio drama. So yeah, the world just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I love this type of genre anyway. Anything detective, anything supernatural, it's kind of a guilty pleasure of mine. So from what I know of writers, I'm not a writer, but from what I know, they say write what you like, write what you love. Is this you on paper?
I love the supernatural genre, and I do love mysteries. One of the inspirations of this was X-Files. So I kind of created an X-Files without the aliens. I don't have aliens. There's no aliens in Boston Metaphysical. But I wanted to have it really focused on the relationship between Samuel Hunter, who's the ex-Pinkerton, Caitlin, who's the medium and spirit photographer, and Granville Woods, who's the genius scientist, who, by the way, is an actual historical figure.
Oh, that's cool.
And lived during that time period. I found him in my research. But, all three of them come from very different backgrounds. They all have each their strengths and weaknesses. But yet together, they're stronger as a whole than they are apart, because they bring all this diversity and knowledge of where they come from and how to approach the world from different viewpoints when they have to take on a case.
Yeah, I think it's super cool too that your Pinkerton's carrying a composite bow. So I need to read this, what the purpose of that is going to be for.
You see it briefly in the very first issue, where he uses it to capture a wraith. There's an electromagnetic netting that he uses it to deploy an electromagnetic netting to catch a wraith.
Okay, so now I'm nerding out because that sounds freaking awesome.
Oh my gosh. Anthony's like ordering on the other screen over there. This is right up his alley. He's really into all the
But
spirits.
she said bow and arrow, electromagnetic net to catch a wraith. Like that sentence, I'm in. That's great. That's
He's
fantastic.
like, I'm sold. Anthony, if you can go to the four of us real quick, I have a little side tangent here. So you were talking about how it was going to be TV, but then you decided to use comic books as a way to maybe get it redirected there again.
Mhm.
Jen, don't you think that comic books are just such a great way for filmmakers and TV developers just to pull these ideas? They already have a massive fan base and just make it come to life.
Yeah, I mean that was our last episode we did. We're talking about like IPs and how that's just the perfect way to like, because it's both visual and it's written. Yes, good points you made. Sorry.
Jen's a big fan of Avatar, which is like, kind of the same idea. You got the TV, you got the movie. I could see this easily becoming a TV show. This has all the makings of it. It has the story that sucked Anthony, and it has the world building that Jen loves, and it just has the really pretty costumes. That's my part of it. So do you think TV will come again then, Madeleine? Are you in for it if it gets offered?
Yeah, but I'm perfectly willing to wait for the right partner. It was kind of the same thing with SourcePoint, in that in the beginning I was, looking for a publisher and then kind of gave up. And then, years later, I knew Travis. We'd met through Facebook. We'd met at cons. I knew some of the other SourcePoint guys, and it was good to wait. It was a good fit, and I'm not in a rush. If the right partner comes along, great. If it doesn't, I'm not going to worry about it.
I don't know. I think if Anthony reads these, he might be in a rush to like come out and take whoever's going to turn it into a show and let's run with it. All right, so let's move on here. So the main thing that we wanted to talk about is the newest addition to this series, and that's the Boston Metaphysical Society, the Book of Demons. Tell us a little bit about this one.
This is pretty much the second half of Ghosts and Demons. I call it kind of like my demons duology. It is technically a standalone, but yeah, it is a continuation of Ghosts and Demons. And because what we discover in Ghosts and Demons is that Caitlin has control over demons, which she didn't realize that she did. And when her mother finds out, and let's just put it this way, her mother and she are not on the best of terms. And she's extremely religious and thinks this kind of power should not be in her daughter's hands, and tells what I call a great house, which is the aristocracy, of her ability. She is kidnapped and forced to find and enslave a demon. And of course, nothing quite turns out the way everyone expects it to.
Wow. Here, Tag Cave saying, smart, do it the way you want or don't do it. That is really good advice. Now, when you say she can control demons, can you elaborate a little bit there? So I can see the powers are in her hands, but can she make them freeze or can she manipulate them? What does she do?
It actually has a much bigger history in that, which I've developed in the novels that explains it. But for here, she has, and I don't want to give away spoilers either. Yeah. They can't hurt her. Through her psychic ability, she can stop them from hurting her. And she can, but each medium has a different, not all mediums can do that. Some can sense them from far away, which she can't. She's a very strong medium, so she has multiple abilities. But yeah, she's able to sense them and hear them and have a modicum of control over them. That anything else would be a spoiler.
Oh, that sounds so cool.
So she's learning this on her own then, is what it sounds like. She's not being taught, she's discovering her abilities as the story progresses.
Correct. After what happens in the original 6-issue miniseries, it changes her. And she's always been a medium and a psychic, but it has changed her abilities in that she's discovered that has telekinetic abilities that she's just starting to learn how to use. And Alma, the African-American woman who is also a scientist, she is a fictitious character, unlike Granville. After Spirit of Rebellion, they essentially become partners and go off to. I'm trying not to ruin the storyline for people who haven't seen it, who haven't read it. They continue as union organizers, which is forbidden. It's against the law in this world. And so they're in hiding, but because of Alma's background, she's able to help Caitlin develop her abilities. And what's really been fun about this series is when I can make the science accurate, I do. So there'll be little bits in there that for people who, know their chemistry or know their physics or something, they're going to go, that's right. And which is fun. But obviously I can't do that all the time because the story and the characters demand something else. And it is, it's science fiction. So, I do get to play with that a little bit.
Yeah, that's cool for character development because she's going to do like a 180 because she goes from a non-physical ability to having all of a sudden a physical presence against demons. And that's got to mess with her mind quite a bit then.
Yeah. And the demons aren't what you think they are. They're not traditional demons where they've come from the hellmouth to destroy the world. That's not what they're about at all.
I'm trying not to say too much. Jen, what were you going to say?
Yeah.
It just sounds like, now I really want to read this now. It sounds like Caitlin's abilities are, it's kind of like a muscle, right? So in the earlier books, those are her like latent abilities that she has like access to, but as she keeps using them and coming, they do have use, that the muscle keeps getting stronger and stronger. And she has essentially a mano a mano with the big bad in the original 6-issue miniseries, and because of that, it's changed her. And then
go ahead.
Comics are fun. Brought up, is this a straight editation of the book or new stories? It's new stories, I believe, right? I believe.
These are all new stories, and if you're referring to, I know this can get kind of confusing because of the novel, so I'll make this clear. I always do new stories. I will never take one of the graphic novels and turn it into a novel. Not going to happen. I'm not going to repeat a story.
That's cool.
That's just not going to happen. Because to me, that's a waste of my time. It's a waste of my creative ability when I can go and create something entirely new. So you will not see the same stories that you see in the graphic novel that you will see in any of my prose.
I like you, Madeleine.
I like her too.
I'm not giving you too much, and I'm not doing the same thing twice. Deal with it.
Yeah. I like that too. And I think it's very cool. Like, I think it was strategic after talking with you here that you included women and, people of color into your stories because they play such an intricate role in history. And it's neat that you did that.
Well, I often get asked a lot, like, why is it set in Boston? And, why this and why that? And the answer is, well, one, it's set in Boston because that's the city it needed to be set at. When you say the word Boston to an American, it means something on a cultural level, on almost a mythological level of who we are as and where we came from. And you can't write an American story, which this is, without including women and people of color, because we were part of that history.
Yeah.
We all were.
So Boston becomes its own character, essentially.
Yes
awesome.
and no. It is. I mean, the reason I did choose it is, one, it has, other than the cultural implications to it, it has those very narrow streets. It's a very intimate city.
Yeah.
This is where it needed to be set.
I love it. So let's take a look at the inside of this book. For those of you who are curious, the art on the inside is just as stunning as the art on the outside. These are 3 panels that Madeleine sent me, and I love all of them. I think they're fantastic. And Anthony and I were discussing this prior to the show, that all the little details are on point, down to costume design. Right, Ant?
Absolutely. We did a show review of the new King Kong versus Godzilla.
Okay.
And I tore that thing apart, and I liked it, but it just, I was telling you pre-show that things have to make sense for me. Like, you don't have zero gravity and device and fly down, you fly up, and that threw me off. So I like when things make sense. I like when the costume design then the period matches. So this is it's good to know you put a lot of research and thought into this and catching a lot in the background.
Well, that's my, mostly Gwen Tavares, my artist. I do send her images, reference images when I send her the script. I send her as much as I think she needs, but I know she has done, particularly when we first started working together with Scourge, she did a lot of research on her own. And because I would see her post like, I'm now researching, 19th century women's socks and men's socks. And I would just go, oh my God, this is amazing. It was hysterical.
That's awesome.
So no, she does her own research as well. And so it's all, yeah, she gets all the credit. She's just done a marvelous job and has been a joy to work with.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it really is. Jen, do you have anything you want to add here?
I believe you might want to cosplay as one of these characters.
Ooh, I would love it. If I could just walk around the house sweeping, doing laundry in one of these like amazing late 18th century or 1800s costumes, I would love it. I think it'd be so much fun.
I think you'd be uncomfortable.
Yeah, but so
I think you'd be uncomfortable.
I was just about to say, you're not getting me in a wool suit from the 1800s. Nothing.
No.
Can you even imagine? But the women just look like dolls. They're just walking porcelain dolls, and it's just so beautiful. I love it all.
Remember in what was that? The mystery with Sherlock Holmes' sister,
Enola.
Yeah, and how they showed that the scene of her like you getting like squeezed into that corset and all the
yeah. No, I've worn corsets to steampunk conventions, and the fancy ones that you wear. And yeah, it's great for your posture. I got to give you that. But by the end of the day, I can't wait to get out of that.
Puts the ladies up underneath the chin. Can't go wrong with that either, right?
I have a question about steampunk.
Okay.
Yes. If somebody said, Anthony, what's steampunk? And I would say, it's an old period, but it's futuristic and they're using industrial technology to seem more forward, but I was trying to, is that it? Is that what steampunk is?
It's pretty close. Another term is like Victorian science fiction.
Oh.
Yeah. Just Victorian science fiction. And as you've probably noticed, there's not a lot of gadgets in the comic, and particularly, when you go and you look at other things, I refer to Boston Metaphysical as more alternate history with steampunk elements than actually being steampunk. And most people seem to have agreed with me. It's just because this is entirely character driven. And yeah, we have cool gadgets and there's fun stuff like that, but they never drive the story. They're just an organic part of the world that they live in.
So Ultra Maximus says nobody ever uses Orlando.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't think you think American history, you think Orlando. It's like Tallahassee.
No.
No. Anyways, all right. Well, let's move on here, guys. So if you are just joining us, we have Madeleine Holly-Rosing here. She is the creator and writer of the Boston Metaphysical Society, the entire series. Where can we find you?
First off, you can find me on Kickstarter right now until April 29th. We are running a Kickstarter to print our latest graphic novel, The Book of Demons. You can also go to our website at bostonmetaphysicalsociety.com, Facebook, Boston Metaphysical Society Comic, Twitter, M. Holly-Rosing, Instagram, MC Holly1. Basically, you go to any of these and type in Boston Metaphysical, it's going to It's going to come up because there's nobody else that's called that.
I dropped the link in the description for the Kickstarter if you guys are looking. So.
Oh,
yes,
thank you.
Definitely check that out. That is live right now, and there's so many cool like perks to this that you're going to want to head over there. It's obviously going to be. It's already funded an incredible amount, which is amazing. The amount of support that you're getting for this book. It's just proof that this is going to happen. So I think there's very little risk with this Kickstarter.
It's going to
happen.
hit all of your stretch goals already, right?
Yes, almost.
Okay.
We're about $300 away from what will probably be our last stretch goal. I'm still thinking about the next one, if we're going to have one or not. I'll know in a few days.
Oh, I'm so excited for you. It's so neat. And Anthony, don't you think MC Holly 1 sounds like a DJ?
Everyone keeps telling me that.
I'm MC Holly.
It's so funny. Everyone keeps telling me that, and it wasn't intentional. It was just like, oh, okay, that fits. I'll type that in.
I like it. It's good. It's really cool.
Like Madeleine Diddy. Anyway. Sorry, I'm having way too much fun here. So guys, make sure that you follow Madeleine on all those platforms and head over to Kickstarter. Anthony put the link in the chat. We want this thing now. I'm going to order it as soon as we get off of the show, actually, because I think this is a solid book, such a cool story, obviously an incredible team of creators. So yes, I'm sold, 100% in. Okay, before we let you guys go for the night, though, I just want to give one special thank you to Anthony, who came out to the show tonight, filled in for Lucy.
Anthony.
Yay! It's very cool of you to do that. We appreciate it. If you guys have somehow not heard of Bird City Comics is amazing. They do live shows on Facebook twice a week. They are on Instagram, Twitter, and of course, Anthony does a YouTube channel with Frank Gogol from SourcePoint and Aaron Yee. So that is in about an hour. Is that when it goes live, Ant?
Yeah, we're going to be live in an hour, guys. And if you're catching this, make sure that you show up for this show. We are going to be interviewing Greg Horn, and we got a special announcement / because you're there and you're seeing it live, there's going to be some goodies available to you specifically. So make sure
you're bribing them in there, huh? You're just bribing them.
I can be bought, so some other people can be too.
Well, thank you again, Anne. It's great having you on, and we sincerely appreciate it. Madeleine, we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming out.
I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me on the show.
No problem. Guys, we will be back next Tuesday. We have another great show planned. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and we will see you next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a good night.